Welcome to episode 7 of the podcast. My name is Raylen. I'm going to be the host today. And today I want to talk about two things. First is, does cold calling actually work to grow an online business? And number two is the problem with perfection. And we're going to start with this cold calling thing. I wasn't even sure I wanted to talk about this, but it keeps coming up. And I have a problem. Let me start here. I have a problem with, it's usually marketers, but online business owners in particular, who go online and act as though their way to grow a business is the only way. Let me start there. The real problem online is not the advice that you get, because you can create a barometer, if you will. You can create a compass to determine whether or not something's legit. You can test things, it's fine. But the real problem is people online who act as though their way that they grew their business is the only way. And I ran across someone like this over on Threads, and it bothered me a little. So enough to where I make an entire podcast to talk about it, because I think it's important, all right? And I don't like to get in these little tips online because I got stuff to do. But every once in a while, something pops up and I got to talk about it. Okay, so I'm not going to share the individual's name, mainly because I have a theory. Because I was talking to my friend Tim, who's a branding expert, and I said, I feel like she leaned into this a little bit from a branding perspective. And maybe she doesn't entirely believe this. And if she does, it's cool. But like maybe part of this is like the brand, like it's the hill in which she's willing to die on, and I respect that. But what she said, that doesn't really make sense. Okay, so let's kind of break it down here. So she posts self-care tip. By the way, this is on Threads. I'm real big on Threads right now. I'm a really big fan of it. And so she says, self-care tip. Unfollow all the coaches teaching you how to cold call. Sales doesn't drive sales. Marketing does. So the first part of this, I actually don't mind. I don't really care, right? Unfollow the coaches teaching you how to cold call. Listen, I don't cold call anymore. There's been periods where I have. I've definitely done cold texting, cold DMing, cold emailing, all these things, which I think are still valid. I just don't personally do them really anymore. And I'll probably speak on that a little bit more. The part that really got me interested, and I want to come with this, I want to make sure I'm clear here. I wasn't upset with the post in and of itself. That's not why I commented. I was like, oh, this is an interesting discussion. Sales doesn't drive sales. Marketing does. Thought that was interesting. So I replied. I said, hey, I hear what you're saying on the cold call. Have a question though. What about the agencies where the entire acquisition model is the cold call? The reason I called that out because I know I did some research. She's an agency. And I brought up a guest that we've had on this podcast. His name's Ken Cook. And I said, hey, I think he's doing something like $1.3 million. I could be off on that, but it's somewhere around there. Working with companies who are a little bit bigger, 1 million to 5 million. I called this out specifically because there's a kind of a difference between the online entrepreneur and the small to mid-sized company. There's kind of a big difference here, right? In fact, when I'm talking to companies, even when they're targeting online entrepreneurs, we even consider that B2C, right? We go straight to the consumer versus B2B. These bigger size companies don't even look really at the online business like a business because it's usually the decision maker is the owner, the founder, they're the fulfillment person. So it's a little bit different, right? So anyway, I wanted to call that out because I think it does make a difference. And I said, according to him, this, which is cold calling, has been the best method to grow. And you can listen to the podcast again. It's Ken Cook was the episode. And I said, look, the way that he's grown his business, and he still to this day says the best way to grow. It's expensive because you have to pull a list and all that stuff. But like in terms of effectiveness, it's the best way he has found to grow his business. Okay, and I'm calling that out specifically to grow his business. I mean, it's the only way. It's just something interesting. Wouldn't this be considered sales driving sales, not the other way around? Because, I mean, anyway, let me pause for a second. So then she replies and says, I wouldn't know about those agencies because I would never be one. My agency operates quite profitably and makes multiple six figures without a cold call in sight. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not even questioning that. What I'm questioning is the language of sales doesn't drive sales, marketing does. That's an interesting discussion. That's really what I'm calling out here. It's like, okay, well, doesn't answer my question, right? In his methodology, that is in fact sales driving sales. So that's great. There is more than one way to do things for sure. Because I realized that she didn't really want to address that part of the sales driving sales part. So I got, whatever. I wanted to make sure there was no beef, whatever. So I was like, hey, like there's more than one way to do things, like for sure. And then she replied, yes, an icky and desperate way, or a natural way and an authentic way. What? Like, we're not even, what are we talking about here? Yes, there's an icky way and a desperate way, or a natural and authentic way. All right. And again, this is where I think context is important, right? Context is definitely important. Here's what I wanted to say on the cold calling part. All right. So let's go back to the original thing I wanted to even talk with her about in the first place. Sales driving sales. Sales can drive sales, and it should, especially in the beginning. And you cannot, despite the fact that you may not like cold calling. I hear this a lot from marketers, which is super surprising to me. That a lot of people, I shouldn't call them marketers, they're online business owners, okay? I hear this a lot from online business owners who will say things like, well, that wouldn't work on me, so it doesn't work. No, that's not how that works. It may not work on you, but it work on other people. I have a really good friend, right? And we're talking through some email marketing strategy, and she goes, well, I don't respond to these type of emails. Like, I would never click that link. I would never do, and you're not the audience for this, though. You're not the avatar, which is why you wouldn't click on it. Like, you don't have this problem. You don't have this pain point. So, yeah, you wouldn't click on it. It's like when you create maybe a course or a program, and let's just take the niche of the niche, right? It'd be like somebody who, like, I know somebody who sells, it's a really interesting business. I think they do creative stamps. I think that's what it is. By the way, this person does like multiple six figures selling creative stamps, I think, and she sells it on Etsy or something like that. Be like looking at her business and go like, I would never click on that. Yeah, you wouldn't, because you're not interested in stamps. Like, that doesn't really make sense. Okay, the other part of this though is the sales driving sales part. Okay, you cannot negate the fact that there are businesses out there that their entire marketing strategy, or not marketing strategy, I'm sorry, but their entire acquisition model is literally just having a huge sales team. Is that a super expensive, ineffective way? Let's put that aside. But you cannot negate the fact that there's giant businesses out there where their entire acquisition model is sales. Take the solar industry, for example. Sure, do they do ads and content? Yeah, sure. But their primary driver to acquisition is someone coming and knocking on your door. That's like a step further than a cold call. They're showing up at your house, knocking on the door, and being like, hey, you should look at solar. Well, Raylen, that would never work on me. Well, it works on somebody because these solar companies are worth billions of dollars. What do you mean it doesn't work? It clearly does for somebody. I hear this a lot even with the cold DM. Cold DM doesn't work. Is it less effective than it was? Probably, which is the reason why I don't do it anymore. But from my own experience, when I first started my agency, I did all cold DMing over on LinkedIn. And within 6 months, I had more clients than I know what to do with. Again, is it the most, again, I want to make sure this is clear. Is it the most effective way? Once you get to a certain point, probably not. Perhaps not. And the only reason why I say that is because then there is risk to it. I don't want to say risk. The things that make it less efficient or less effective, I should say, the thing that makes it less efficient is that because I was doing a lot of cold DMing, I had more no-shows than I had ever before. And the people that got on the call, the sales call was more, I had more effort I had to do more effort in the sales call, because when they got to it, they would say things like, man, what are we talking about again? Like, they don't remember me. There's no brand attached to it. There was no marketing to make them pre-interested, pre-motivated, and predisposed to buy, like my friend Joe Polish says. It was a straight sales call, and they forgot why they were on it, even on the first place. So is the most efficient way? No. But did it work? Yes. But that's what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about can sales drive sales? Yes. And the thing that I want to call out here, two parts. One is I mentioned earlier, sales driving sales, you going direct to them, not waiting for them to come to you, not marketing or branding, just you doing sales stuff is the most effective way to launch a new campaign, to launch a new offer, to launch a new business. Why? Because you're not wasting time on marketing. You're not wasting time building the right website. And I'll give you a real world example of, as of today, I am a stronger salesperson than I am a marketer. So whenever I launch something new, I always start with like a sales motion. So here's my sales motion, okay? I launched a new course called the High Ticket Enrollment System. So this course goes from when you capture the lead all the way to the sales call, and it breaks down the steps you need and the automations you should run and what that sales call should look like if you're an online business owner, and the most effective way to do that. And I'll put in the description of this video where you can learn more about that. But the goal I initially set was I wanted to get this course in the hands of 20 people before I made the sales page. Mainly because I can get feedback from them and I can find out like the marketing aspect of it. Interview them, ask them like, hey, how did this help you? Why did it help you? And then also too, when I make the sales page, now I have testimonials to show for it, right? And then if nobody wanted it, then I would just not even bother making the sales page. Okay, nobody wants this thing, so I'm not going to go forward with it. Luckily, people wanted it, so it was fine. So here was the sales driving sales part of it. No marketing. I literally sent voicemails or voice messages to people that I don't want to say I knew, that I've seen online before, that I guess you could say we're acquaintances. They know my name simply because of Instagram or whatever, but they're not even really engaging. And I sent a voice message to a bunch of people, said, hey, I created a new course. Here's what it does. I think it could help you. Do you want me to send it over to you? And then about 15, I'll tell you, I can tell you exactly. Not that it's really that important. And it wasn't end up being 20, it ended up being 12. 12 people signed up for the course. Okay, so keep in mind, this is why it's important, is because there was no marketing. I didn't have a landing page for it. I just had literally a checkout page that I created and was like, hey, here it is, sign up for it. And 12 people got it. And then the testimonials came and all that. And now the marketing can begin. So, and that's a sales driving sales motion. The marketing came later. Now, again, so if you're an online business owner and you're thinking to yourself, man, how do I launch this? I've been making content every single day. I made this website. The better path probably is to lean into a sales versus sales motion. On the flip side of this, there's also individuals that I know that will say, I launched this course or I launched this coaching program and did the marketing, did the web, and nobody's buying. And I'm, burned out. I'm not making money. The first question I usually ask is, did you pick up the phone and call anybody about it? Like in the beginning, you got to hustle a little bit. I know nobody wants to hear that. I know right now the mode is, can I do stuff with ease? Can I make it easier? Like I've made it a mission. I'm not perfect at it yet, but I made it a mission of mine to take out easy out of my marketing. You can make 10K easy because it's not fucking easy. Especially in the beginning. I hate that. So I try to take it out of everything now. In the beginning, you should, especially if you lack the skill set of grabbing attention online, pick up the damn phone and call somebody. My favorite thing that I've seen people do, like in the website design space, is they'll go on like Google, whatever, find businesses, look at their website, see that it's trash, cold email them and be like, hey, here's a screenshot of your website. Here's literally exactly how I would do it. Here's even an image, a screenshot of how I would redo your website. If you want me to do it for you, let's book a call. That's sales driving sales. No marketing. Now, over time when you do it, the more effective and efficient way, now that you've done that enough, you have enough clients and all that stuff, then you make the website, you make the sales page, you make the landing page, and then you get really good at creating content and you bring attention to you. I think this is why context is important. For this individual that I was talking, she's probably, I'm assuming, I don't know, but she's probably really good at getting attention online. I mean, she makes polarizing thread posts. You know, her Instagram's probably popping. So she's really good at grabbing attention. Probably from the beginning, she's been good at grabbing attention. And that attention leads to them filling out and wanting to work with her because she got a good brand. Like I looked at her threads, she's got a good brand. You know, it's very clear her North Star. She's very clear on, again, the hill she's willing to die on. Because of her brand, she's probably attracting the right ideal client. Like, so for her, yeah, the idea of having to pick up the phone and call somebody is like, ew, why would I ever do that? But there's some of us here that are willing to pick up the phone and say, hey, like, I think I can help you, and go through a few no's to make a sale in the beginning. Now, again, this is not, I want to make sure this is clear. This is not a, hey, cold calling is the path. Again, I said in the beginning of this, I don't cold call anymore because I want the right client. And there is an argument for when you cold call, you get more of the desperate type of clients. If you don't have a really good back end of like, how do you weed out and qualify people? But to negate the fact that there are billion-dollar businesses out there where their entire acquisition model is sales driven, to negate the fact that like in the beginning, the best way, one of the best ways to grow a business from scratch is the cold DM, the cold call, the cold email. Come on, man. What are we doing here? So I think if we were to revise this thread, it would be unfollow anybody that tells you their way is the only way to grow a business. Because that's not real. Even the way that and again, you could argue, and this is why I said I got to give this individual a shout out. Because as a branding move, to have a hill in which you're willing to die on, I gotta give a shot. Like, I mean, she's doing it. It's polarizing. I'm talking about it. It's smart. It's a smart play. And it's probably the better way to go about it. But for me, if I'm being completely honest, there's a reason why when I talk about growing an online business, to me, what's more important is what do you want? What are all the ways that you could get there? And there's more than one, hundreds even. So you have who do you want? What is it going to take to get there? And then who are you? What are you willing to do? And then there's going to be a result of that. And you have to be okay with that result. So for example, if you're like, Raylen, I will never do a cold DM. I will never tell somebody in a voice message that I can help them and here's how. I want them to come to me. Okay, that's nothing wrong with that. But just know that path's going to take you way longer to get to what you want. And if you're okay with that, cool. Don't just complain about it though. That's ultimately what you chose. Now, if you tell me, Raylen, this is what I want. I want a 6-figure business in the first year of being a business, and I'm willing to do this and this and this. And okay, cool. You're more likely to achieve it. So it's just one of those things, right? There's more than one way to get what you want. And I think when we see things like this online, it gets really easy to get into this perfection thing. I want things to be perfect before I launch. This is where the problem of perfect comes into play. So I've been reading this one book, which it's not about around being perfect. It's about the hidden potential. It's by Adam Grant. Great book. But I got to this chapter, he's talking about perfection. And I realized there's a lot of parable here. Parable, is that the right word? I think so. There's a parallel? I don't know. There's a parallel between perfection in other places and perfection in online business. And there's people out there, let's just take coaches and agency owners, right? People, online businesses. And they go, hey, I want my website to be perfect. I want my content to be perfect. I want this to be perfect. My offer to be perfect. I want all this stuff to be perfect before I do X. And by the way, I've been there. So when I first started my business, the first business I started was called New Vision Leadership. And what did I before I created the actual offer itself, I was like, I need a logo. So for 6 months or something like that, I was working with somebody to design the logo. I wanted the colors to be right and all of this. And it took 6 months because every iteration of it I didn't like. think I changed the name like 15 times. Couldn't figure out a good name. I'm like, that name is so important. I need a name for this company that is going to be around forever. So it took like 6 months to do that. Then after that came, okay, I need a beautifully designed website to launch this thing. Problem with that is I don't know jack squat about designing a website. In fact, every time I try to make a landing page today, I got to call somebody. I don't even know why I even start trying to design it. But it takes me like, I was joking with my friend Elisa the other day who does most of design for my like sales pages and the website. And it took me like 4 hours to like figure out even how to add a form. It was like a whole thing. So I ended up calling her. I'm like, all right, you got to do this. And then came the coaching program itself, the program, what I'm going to talk about. And I had this big ideal vision of I want to solve every single problem possible in this thing. And it took forever to even get to that point. I do all this. And then maybe in 8 months, I signed one person to a coaching program. All to get them in the coaching program, and then realized that I needed to throw away everything that I did. Because as I was coaching them, I was like, ooh, like, you don't need this, but you need this, and I don't have that in the program, so I got to add this, and I got to tweak that. So 8 months or longer to make things perfect, only to realize that what I had created didn't even make sense for the audience anyway that I was working with. So the next go around, no website, cold DM, by the way. Not cold. It was like lukewarm at best. It was content to the DMs to booking a call. But I was DMing them. And then the program itself that I made wasn't finished. I did like 2 lessons because I knew once I got to the lesson 2, I would be able to gauge, all right, this is where they're actually at in their journey. This is what's missing. And I need to add that to the program. So I started with 2 lessons. Here's the comparison. The first way I did it, assigned 1 person. The other way I did it, assigned 20. And it was a far better program. And oh, by the way, I still didn't have a website. We get stuck in this, I need the perfect way to do things, instead of building forward. You don't wait for things to be perfect. You build your way forward. I talked about this before, or maybe not in the podcast, but I restarted my website. So for a long time, I did my website, or not a website, my newsletter. I restarted my newsletter because for years I had this newsletter running, whatever, but like it wasn't what I wanted. And so what was the problem with it? The problem was, I think mainly was that I got lazy with the writing. I wasn't really writing the content anymore. I was just mostly repurposing. So I would make a podcast like this and then have ChatGPT kick out an email for it. So it wasn't my words, and then it wasn't hitting. So I got rid of it and started a new newsletter, which I'll link if I haven't already in the description, and I'll put it in the video as well so you can check it out and enroll. But the only way I knew, though, the right way for me to have a newsletter was to start the shit one first. I had to start the crappy one first, get a bunch of subscribers to it. For me anyway, there's a couple hundred people in it. In order for me to know this is not the way that I want to run a newsletter. I want a different way. Experiment, learn, improve, experiment again. That way you're getting results in real data, collecting it, learning, improving, and moving forward. And far too often, we want things to be perfect. I see this all the time. Before I start a podcast, I need the right equipment. I need the right tech. I need this. I need that. I got to make sure I write out what I want to talk about. Everything has to be perfect. I got to have the right energy. I got to have the right feelings about it, whatever. And then weeks go by, months go by, and you never launch the damn thing. Podcasting, for example, is something that a lot of people want to do, but they never get started. Start shitty and improve and put it out and get better. My brother's probably watching this right now. My brother Reese is far more talented than me in every single category. It's been like that since forever. Far more talented than me. He's extremely talented, extremely creative. He's a photographer. He has a podcast, and it's hilarious, and he's just way funny. In every category, he's better than me. But he gets in his own way and doesn't come out with podcasts all the time. And why am I putting my brother on blast like this? Because I'm hoping that he watches this and gets a little angry and posts something. But I talked to him the other day because he's like, we're going to battle, right? We're going to do content for content. I said, all right. I'm telling you right now, though, if we were to compete based on the quality of the content or the creativeness of the content, he would beat me every single time. But the one thing that no one can beat me on, very few people, is the consistency part. If I have to come on here and record a podcast with nothing to say and just stare straight in the camera, I will. Just to show up, just to have that discipline to do it. Because I know the more I do it, the better I'll get at it. The more I do it, the more people will see it, and so on and so forth. It's a matter of time at this point. And when I was talking to him, he was like, I just didn't feel like it. There's an argument, right? That hey, quality over quantity. But at the beginning, it's quantity. Get the reps in. Do the thing. And then you beat people like me that, again, doesn't have the talent. And even now, today, right, I got some feedback from someone recently. It was really nice. And I did this collaboration for YouTube, a YouTube video. And somebody had mentioned hey, this is real, the way that you do content, you could tell you've been doing it a long time because of something I did in the video. Wasn't even that impressive. I just messed up in the middle of the content and then just kept rolling with it. I was like, whatever. I made fun of myself and then just kept rolling. That doesn't happen just because I just did it one day. And I'm just naturally talented at this shit. No, man. I've been meaning to make a post about this, and maybe after this I'll write it down. But when I first started making content 5 years ago, it's the silliest shit in the world because I'm literally wearing fake glasses. I read a book called Alter Ego, and I was nervous about making content because I was like, people are going to know I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm not good at this. And so I wore these fake glasses to make myself feel more confident because I was like, if I put on the glasses, it means I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But anyway, I wore these fake glasses. And it wasn't good. What I was saying didn't make any damn sense. It just wasn't good. But I've been doing it for 5 years. So over time, you can't help but to get better. Are you going to be perfect? No. But you'll be way farther ahead than when you were. That's the point. Build forward. Don't just wait. Build forward. Fail fast. Fail forward. That's it. Unless you don't take the time, there's never going to be a time where you launch something that's not great and you don't learn from it. Take the time to learn from it and go again. Because we have this spiral that happens when we're trying to be perfect, right? We try something, it fails, we make a mistake. Ooh, I'm not going to do that again. And your circle of what you're willing to try gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then eventually one day you're like, I'm just going to stay in this little zone because that's all I know. That's all I'm good at. But you never get to where you want to be. Fail forward. That being said, that's it for the podcast this week. Thanks for checking it out. I appreciate you. If you're watching this over on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, do all that fun stuff so I can catch you in the next one. If you're listening to this, hey, I appreciate you listening to this. By the way, I was today years old when I realized that I can upload video to Spotify. So if you're not listening to this on Spotify, you're crazy because at least you can see the video too. I would watch podcasts over on Spotify and be like, how did I get this video? I figured it out, guys. So videos up over on Spotify. If you're listening to Apple Music in your car or Apple Podcasts and you listen to your car, you're like, I don't want to see a stupid face. I get that. I totally get that. That's all right. I appreciate you listening anyway. Thanks, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.